Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to address the immediate practical issue of the Green Party SOPs, and in doing so I want to divide my time, sir. I'll talk initially to the issue of community engagement. As I said in our first reading debate, that our concerns revolved around a twofold process. Firstly, the lack of adequate community engagement, and secondly, the extensive powers. So I'd like to treat our SOPs accordingly. So I'll focus for the moment only on the community engagement aspect of our concerns. We have submitted on paper, you'll have it in front of you, I think, sir, paper 232, the SOP order paper 232. We have proposed two amendments there, to Clause 6 and to Clause 7. And there is another one that we have submitted to Clause 20. Now, and I'll address that later as well. With regard to SOP 232, with regard to Clause 6, we propose that sub-clause 2 insert the following words, quote, "and broadly representative of communities and organisations in Christchurch." That would come after the words "suitably qualified" in the provision as it stands. So we submit that because we believe the people of Christchurch have a right to a say in how their city should be rebuilt. Currently, the proposed community forum will be handpicked by the Minister, and in our view, this compromises its independence. The proposed amendment to Clause 6 also requires that membership be approved by the House of Representatives. In similar vein, Clause 7, we would add the following subclause after subclause 2, that the Minister and the Chief Executive must have regard to any advice that they are given by the cross-party group. So in putting forward those SOPs, we have special regard to some of the comments by a number of recognised lawyers throughout the land, constitutional lawyers and others. Let me just quote, if I may, from one, Dean Knight, who says the following, and I quote, so this is not the Green Party speaking, we are quoting a recognised legal authority. "I acknowledge the gravity of the task facing Christchurch and other districts. The recovery and rebuilding project is a massive one, and one that is probably beyond the capacity of present local authorities and other agencies. I accept, therefore, that central government involvement is essential. However, I question the top-down rather than bottom-up model that has been adopted. The legislative scheme does not build in the usual elements of local democracy and community participation that is traditionally seen and expected in legislation dealing with town planning and management of local resources." He further says, "The predominant thinking nowadays is that," and this is in rebuttal to the comments that the international experience around the world is that recovery delayed is recovery denied, and that therefore we have to have a timely and, quote, expedited recovery. Our understanding of the international experience is, if it is not the reverse, it is at least balanced by the requirement that there be adequate community engagement, because if you need a timely recovery, you also need a legitimate recovery. So I appeal to the Minister and to the Government to have regard for balancing expedition of the recovery and rebuild with a legitimacy from the community engagement. And I know that the phraseology is there in the Act as it stands. It is how it is enacted, how we observe it once this bill passes. Dean Knight, for example, observes that the, quote, "the predominant thinking nowadays is that town planning or resource management decisions ought to be made at the local level in a way that allows the affected communities,
Mr.
Chair, in a way that allows the affected communities to have their say in their development. It recognises that they will be best placed to assess the propriety of the plans and generally enhances the legitimacy of the measures adopted. It is also consistent with the principle of subsidiarity, which says that decisions ought to be made at the lowest possible level within the governmental framework. Further, he says, in practical terms, a community-centred model would charge the local authorities themselves with developing the overarching recovery strategy, without the need for ministerial sign-off. SERA would still have a role in assisting local authorities. It could operate as a portal through which governmental assistance could be provided to support these efforts through co-option of staff to assist the local authorities and coordinate central government assistance necessary to convert that vision into action. So that is the philosophy on which we rest this particular SOP. There is a need for the community engagement to be not only present in the Act, but to be the dominant theme running through the Act. For decision-making that is going to be made by the nation as a whole, through SERA, through the government, through the City Council, to be reflective of the community input. So I commend our SOP to the House relating to Clause 6 and Clause 7, and I look forward to the response of the Minister. Thank you.